All of that is true. Look, last week we talked about going public, and it's a once event, going public. Today, I want to talk about something that's maybe a little bit more of a reoccurrence, not just a one-time moment. Today, I want to talk about being known, and I want to give a bit of a disclaimer up front, because there are some of you that are sitting here right now that are going to feel like maybe I'm stepping on your toes a little bit today. I want you to know that is not my intention, but I don't know how else to go around this. I have to just talk about this subject matter. If it steps on your toes, just know I don't want that to happen, but maybe just hear that as maybe a little nudge from the Holy Spirit. But today, I want to talk to you about this idea of being a part of something, being a part of what's happening here in Hillcrest. I want to start by saying that when I was 15, I came back to church. I had kind of been away for a while. I had some issues with God that happened a little bit earlier in my journey. And at age 15, I came back to the church. But not for God. I came back for a girl. I'm not proud of it, but that is literally why I was there. But while I was there, someone in leadership did something to that girl. Something I'm not going to describe here during this message, except to say that what was done to her was evil. And what was done to her broke something inside of me. I walked out of church. I walked away from God with all the evidence I would ever need for making that decision. The church was a fraud. Christianity and what it taught was a lie. I was right and they were wrong. And nobody, and I mean nobody, could argue me out of that belief. Now, I'm going to tell you where that took me in just a few minutes here, but for now, just know I had my proof. And I built something because of that. Now, there's a wound that I had then, and I think it's a wound that some people have sitting here today. And it is this. You can walk into a church for years and stay a total stranger. And you can do this on purpose. I mean, you get the music, you get the message, you get a decent seat, a cup of coffee, and then you're gone before anybody knows your last name. And you call it being a private person. Or you say, I'm just not a joiner. Or, I'm a low maintenance kind of individual. I want to tell you exactly what it really is. The reason why you do that is it is a form of armor. There's a thing that nobody says out loud. And it's that by not joining, not connecting, not officially being a part of something, I can never be let down. A regular attender can't actually be hurt. Only someone really known can. Because the moment you get into relationship with someone, the moment you get to know another person, this is what happens. And this is true in all relationships. You hand them the power to disappoint you. Every single relationship you ever choose to get into, anytime you open yourself up, anytime you choose to be known, you hand that person the power to disappoint you, to fail you, to leave, to maybe do what the last church did to you, or to do what people in this church already did to you, and some of those people aren't even here anymore. So you stay a stranger. You show up, but you're good at just the, how are you kind of things. You serve others maybe from a distance. You do tasks, but you don't do people. And you tell yourself you're just private. You tell yourself that you're just protecting your schedule. But you're not protecting your schedule. You're not just protecting these other things. You are protecting the wound. that you experienced. And this shows up in 100 different small ways in your life. You can be going through life and hard times hit, difficult moments come, relational things in your own life, financial things in your life, and you wonder, is there anybody out there that actually knows me enough to speak into this, someone that I can lean on? And you might have friends outside of church, but church friends are uniquely different because they share a value system and an understanding that is unique to people of faith. And it's important that those people exist in our lives so that as we go through things, we have people to lean on, people to help us, people to walk with us. Others that have had similar shared experiences and try to live out their faith in the midst of a world that desperately is trying to push against your faith. We live in a world that is focused on marketing to your anger and marketing to your anxiety. Every product is pitched to you because if you don't have it, there's devastation in your life. You have to have this thing to be okay. We live in this world of tension. And do you have someone that shares your values, that shares your faith? Do you have someone that you walk with that is working to work against those things, that's working to make this world a better world, to relieve the anxiety and to bring peace into the world? Together with others. Friends, you're not just being private by the way you attend here, but you're just being a person who's figured out how to be in the room without actually being in the room. Now, I want to look at what the church was supposed to be. When the church was first set up, we look in Acts chapter 2, and we're going to see how the church was first set up, how God intended this to be, because we have shrunk church down to something that you can just attend. That was not how it was created to be. Because right after the church is born, in Acts 2, Luke describes what the very first believers did. And I want you to notice it's not a list of services that the church does. It's a description of a shared life. Acts chapter 2, verse 42. All the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship and to sharing meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. First thing, all. Okay, all the believers did this, and they did what? First thing I've highlighted, devoted themselves. What is devoted? What are you devoted to in life? Let me put it this way. There are so many things in life that we want to do, that we know we should do, that we mean to do. We know our life would be better if we would do them. What are some examples? Go to the gym. What's the difference between believing that you need to go to the gym and being devoted to go into the gym? I have so many people that I talk to that say, I just don't have enough time for this thing, and the thing that they list is the thing that would make their life better. And I just tell them, well, you're not devoted to that thing. You're devoted to all these other things. I just don't have time. Well, if whatever this thing was, when you showed up, if someone gave you $1,000 every time you showed up, would you be devoted? Yeah, I'd probably go then. Okay, you're just choosing your value. You're just choosing what you think you want to go to based off of sometimes just your sinfulness, maybe, or just your flesh, just what feels good that day, but the thing that really is going to make a difference. And these people were devoted. There's nothing that was going to keep them from being together. And what were they devoted to? Look at the list. To the teaching, to the fellowship, to the sharing of meals, and to prayer. Now, I would say that they're devoted in a group, and so this is a group event. But there are some of these things you could do. You could pray on your own. You don't have to be in a group to pray. Teaching, you can come here, you can listen to teaching all on your own. You don't have to be devoted to others or in community with others. Now, sharing in meals, you're a little bit of a stretch for that, because if you're not like with someone else, I think you're just eating. But, that may be for there could be some argument there. But how are you going to get around fellowship? Right? Fellowship is going to take another person. It's going to take somebody. Fellowship is key to what the church is. The church was not a thing that they did once a week. Church was a people they belonged to. You catch the difference? Church wasn't just something they went to. It wasn't just like, hey, church is today, let's go to church. And when church is done, we leave church and we do our life. And maybe next week we pick a different church, or we just pick church. We go to a church. Church for them was a group. It was a family that they were a part of. Something they devoted themselves to and did all the things of their life, connected in some way, shape, or fashion to that group of people, to that church. And we have done something really strange with church in our culture, our Christian culture today. We turned a body that you're supposed to belong to into a service that you consume. And you can consume a service forever and never once be known by it. So here's our distinction, and this is the idea for the whole week. A visitor cannot be let down. If you're just on the fringe, you can't get hurt. And I think that for some people, that might be why they're still visiting. There's some issue that's gone on in the past. Or maybe you feel like, I just haven't committed because I'm just not really sure yet. Or maybe you're busy. Like, I don't know what I could really do for the church or really commit in any way. Or maybe I just haven't found the right fit. I want to push back on that, those feelings that you might have. Because for some of you, the real reason may be simpler, but maybe harder. You're maybe a guest today, and the next week, and the week after. Because a guest can't be injured by someone that they would be in relationship with. You keep the name tag that says guest on it, because the day that you write your actual name into there, people could break your heart. Maybe they already did. Maybe somebody has hurt you. Maybe there has been an injury in the past. Maybe a church, not this church, but some other church, proved that you could get injured and hurt you in the process. So you end up keeping the armor on. And the armor works, keeps people at distance. The blows that people might give, the attacks, don't exist when you keep the armor on. But hear me, because this is the part that the armor that you wear never tells you. The same armor that keeps the sword out also keeps all the people out. All the things that make life worth living are on the outside of that armor. It cannot penetrate. Yes, the sword can't penetrate, and so that's the win. But the good things can't penetrate either. The things that make life worth being something worth doing. You don't get hurt, and you also never get known. You don't get let down. You also don't get to be a part of something significant. You wanted to be safe. And instead, in some odd way, even in this room, you're alone. And you call it the same thing, but it isn't. I want you to picture an image, if you would. A knight in shining armor with a name tag that says guest. And instead of being in here, they're in their car, in the parking lot, and the car is running. You got the image? Knight in shining armor, guest sticker, in their car, in the parking lot, and the car's running. This is what it's like for so many people that go to church but never really connect with that church, never really get involved. They've got their armor on, they're not really necessarily known, and they pull up to the church and they keep the engine running because they're not sure what they're going to do. The engine running gives you opportunity, gives you, maybe I'm in, maybe I'm out. And the only way that you get connected, the only way that you really get connected is you've got to shut that engine off. The thing is that while the engine runs, you're still burning the fuel. You're still burning all the energy. And you're going nowhere. You shut that engine off. You get out of that car and you enter in and you choose to be known. You leave the armor behind. You put on a new name tag that says, "Hi, my name is Doug," or whatever your name is. You get known and you put down the armor. And yes, it's a risk that you have to take. Back to the 15-year-old with all of his evidence that he had. I left church, and not just church, I left God. Now, I wasn't an atheist. I didn't know how to be an atheist. I desperately wanted to be an atheist, but I couldn't. I was agnostic. I could not understand or believe that there wasn't a God. I just knew it wasn't in the formal kinds of religion and in the church the way that we, normally see church. I knew that was not the answer. And for 9 years, I stayed away. And I want to be transparent about those 9 years and what they were actually like, because it may not be what you think those 9 years were. Because from the outside, I won. On the outside, I had the evidence. I could prove what was wrong in the church and the hypocrisy that was there, the damage that was done on this girl, the way that the church dealt with that and covered those things up, and the hurt that happened as a result. And they just continued on singing their songs and doing their thing. It was fake. And I left. And in that, I finally had my freedom. And I had my proof that the answer wasn't going to be in the church. And nobody could prove me wrong because I wasn't wrong. Those things happened. Something evil really did take place. And I really did have a right to be angry about that thing. But here's a thing that you wouldn't have noticed by looking at me. On the inside, I was homesick. Deep within me, I was homesick. Now, I wouldn't have called it that back then. I wouldn't have known what it was, but I definitely felt that feeling. Something inside me was missing. And it never stopped missing. It was always missing within me. And here's the thing that nobody warned me about when I walked away from the church. I didn't just lose church. I felt like I was losing God too. And some part of me did not want to lose God. It was like I had made my choice at age 15, and I now had to live in that choice. I had to keep proving my choice to myself and to others. Every day there was this little voice in my head that said, "Is he there? Is God there?" And every day I had to answer, no. No, he's not there. You see, I didn't get to just walk away once from God. I had to re-walk away from God every single morning for 9 years. That is what the armor cost me. The armor that I put on, that is what cost me. 9 years of reinforcing a wall that I had built when I was 15 years old. 9 years of being right and being alone in my faith. And telling myself that the first thing made up for the second thing. I had protected myself perfectly. And had never been more alone by myself than any other time in my life. So how does a person with a lot of armor, a lot of protection, take that armor off? I can tell you this, you won't argue them out of it. That armor is on there for a reason. And it's usually a very valid reason that that armor exists. Because I had the arguments. I could win any argument that you might give. But here's the way Scripture says it happens. Romans chapter 15, verse 7. Therefore, accept each other, just as Christ has accepted you, so that God will be given glory. Accept each other, just as Christ has accepted you. Accept each other. How do we accept each other? The same way Christ has accepted you. That's pretty significant. Can you tie in with how Christ has accepted you? Are you worthy? Are you sinless? When God looks at all the people, do you stand taller than the others around you? This is a worthy person for God to accept? Now, if it's up to those standards, we would all be in the dirt. None of us are worthy. None of us are acceptable. But God accepts us anyways. So accept each other in that same way. Not after you get cleaned up. Not once you've proven in some way that you're worth it. God has accepted you in your mess, in your sin. Your arms still crossed and mad. He still accepts you. You see, this is how it works for God. The welcome comes first, and the change in the person comes after. And the change happens because of the welcome. You get that? God welcomes you first, the change then happens, and the change happened because there was a welcome. Because you were welcomed in. And don't miss the other half of this verse, because it says accept each other, and that runs both directions. It's never a one-way transaction. It's a room full of people here today pledged to one another. When you accepted Christ, we talked about that in week 1, you're introduced and you become part of the family of God, and that settles it. And if you are a member of the family of God, that is a good thing. No one can strip that away from you. And so what is membership in a local church? Why do churches have membership? It's where that big membership in the family of God touches ground. It's saying, in this place where God has put you, I'm going to band together with these believers. I'm going to officially join you. We together will be Christ's hands right here, and we're going to hold each other up while we do it. That is why we connect as members in a local congregation. Which means when you step in, you're not just taking a risk by stepping in, you're gaining a people. Their commitment to you is also part of the deal. It's help when your life caves in. It's a friendship with others that doesn't evaporate when it stops being convenient in your life. It's a family identity. It's a belonging. It's people who are bound to you on purpose and by choice, not just because they happen to sit in the row next to you. Now, I realize that some of you here may have a real wound from a church. And if someone in church did something evil to you, if someone in church has hurt you in some way, that's real. I'm not saying ignore that. And it's okay to protect yourself from that. Naming what was done wrong is a good thing. But burying it is not. And I realize that sometimes a room may not be safe for all kinds of different reasons. But wisdom is not the same thing as armor. I'm not asking you to be naive about pain or hurts that have happened. I'm just asking you to stop letting the worst thing that one broken person might have done to you or someone you love keep you alone for the rest of your life. Membership in a church is not a form that you sign. It's not like I want to be a member and you sign a form. It's a promise, and it's a promise that runs both ways. You see, the moment that you step in with membership, the moment you step in with a group of people, the moment you step in and say, I am with you, I choose to be with you, there's a room full of people that also share that same commitment with you. And there's a net that is underneath this whole thing, a real one. People who will actually catch you in the difficult moments of life. But a net is useless to the person who won't let go of the bar. Do you agree? The net might be there, but if you continue to hold on, you continue to white knuckle it in life, never leaning on anyone else, never trusting anyone else, that net that's under you, you never know that it can hold until you let go of that bar. And that's the thing about a church, is it is a net underneath you that can catch you in the difficult moments of life, the moments where you can't hold on any longer. You stop asking, what do I get out of this church? And you start saying, this is my church, and this is what we're doing together. It's not a burden to be a part of a church. It's not a burden that they hand you at the front door when you walk in. In fact, I go as far as to say it's actually the belonging that your heart desires, that you're wired to have. Look, when it comes to a suit of armor, for anyone that's wearing that protective suit of armor, you can't hug a person in a suit of armor. You can knock on it. You can stand next to that suit of armor. But you can't get through to the person on the inside. And the person on the inside cannot feel a thing about what's going on the outside. That's the trade. The same steel that keeps the sword out keeps every warm hand out too. And a lot of us walk into church wearing that suit of armor. Because some church out there or some individual dented us. And we swore it would happen never again. And the suit of armor works. It keeps that out. And that's exactly the problem with the armor that we wear. You wanted protection, but you also got aloneness inside a tin can. At some point, somebody in your life has to tell you, and let me be that person here today, that armor isn't keeping you safe anymore. It's just keeping you alone. Take it off. Let someone reach you. Take the risk of that relationship. How did that armor come off me? Because I said it was 9 years later. That armor fell off 9 years after the time I decided to put it on. And at that time in my life, I had had an injury. Told this story many times before. I want to kind of point to a different aspect of it, but I had injured my hand. I wasn't going to church. My wife, she grew up Catholic, and we got married, and I was like, are you a Christian? Because that matters to my grandma. And she's like, yes. So my grandma said, is she a Christian girl? I said, yes. But we weren't living that life at all. And when that injury happened, it happened to be at that same time my wife was saying, hey, let's go back. Let's go to a church. Let's find a church. She had issues going on and, just feeling like she wanted to connect with God. And I wanted to tell her there was nothing there. It's hypocrisy. There's nothing there. Just forget it. But she was persistent. And during that period of time, we went to this church that had Friday night young marrieds group. And it was the nerdiest group of people. I mean, seriously nerdy. And the guys were shooting hoops, and they had like game tables set up with like Monopoly and Skip-Bo. And I walked in, I'm like, oh my goodness, of all the things that we usually do on a Friday night. And this is it. And I had this injury in my hand, so I couldn't play basketball, so I was stuck at these stupid tables. They were doing jigsaw puzzles. Like hard ones. So we were there. And I was looking for cracks. I was looking for places to exploit. And a couple of the guys that were in the group kind of came around me, and they started kind of befriending me a little bit. And I tell you, there's something that felt kind of good, but I kept that at bay because these guys are the enemy, honestly. They don't even know it. They're just dumb lemmings. And those families, they brought food to us. Those families, they said that they prayed for us. And these guys said, hey, we're getting together on this particular night. Why don't you come on over? I did not know I was being invited to a small group. I was tricked, was baited, and I went to it. And they just talked about current issues for a while. Oh, I had lots to say about current issues. I had lots to say about politics. I had lots to say about race and political correctness. And everything they said, I said the harshest, most hurtful, most unchristian thing I could. And you know what they said? That's a good point. Have you thought about this? Yeah, I have thought about that. And I found another thing. No, that's a good point. And so we got all said and done. And I thought they were going to say, thanks for coming. Don't ever come back. So they said, hey, we're going to get together next week. Come again. It was if they could already see what was going to take place in me that I had no idea was going to take place. They continued to reach out. They continued to care for me. They continued to give me opportunity to spew my ugliness until finally the day happened. And I tell you, I wish I could give you this moment that happened in the group and tears came down. I was like, yeah, Jesus. It didn't happen that way for me. It's just one day. One day I woke up and the usual fight of is there a God? No, there isn't. And this is why, and reminding myself why I'm agnostic, all of a sudden I woke up one day and the voice said, is there a God? And I looked in the mirror and I said, yeah. And I see him in that group. I see him in the faces of the nerdiest people because they just chose to love. They just chose to reach out and to help. They kept the promise first. They had some inner inkling, I don't know what it was, but they were just welcoming, as if they could see what was going to happen to me, the change that might take place. But somehow, I responded. And in that, I came home. The homesick feeling that I carried for 9 years. All of a sudden, one morning, I was home. I didn't even know how that day would be different or the days after that. I was a little embarrassed. I was a little embarrassed to tell my wife, yeah, all that stuff I said, let's just set that aside. Because I don't want another barrier to keep me from coming home. I want to go to church and just go to church. I want to hear teaching without a wall and let it sink into me. I want to be able to go and be with these people and not have to be looking for all the hypocrisy that was there, but actually just find a relationship. And to see people that have values, and see people that could help me and teach me and help me along on my journey, and that we could somehow rub shoulders as if iron sharpening iron would be good. As if coming along someone else might benefit my life. That I might not have all the answers. And that the answers that I thought I did have, some of those could be wrong. Or my answers could be right, but hurting me. And so I walked that journey. The evidence for God in my life got heavier than my ability to ignore it. That's what membership is. It's not a form in an office. It's a room full of people who decided out loud that they belong to one another. and that they also won't let strangers stay strangers. So here's your one thing this week. In fact, let me just, worship team, come on up. This is your call. When I started this series, I told Pastor Brian, I told others that kind of I was working through this, that at the end of each message, I wasn't going to like with baptism, I was going to say, so come sign up for baptism. Or membership, come sign up to be a member. I said, I mean, kind of like, I want to teach this differently than I ever have before, and I don't want to have this action step at the end that seems so obvious. I'm sorry, that's just the way this has gone. Because this has got to be a point, a moment in time for me to say, stop. Stop standing on the outside. Stop being on the outside and look in. And join us. Commit yourself to say, this body of believers is the group that I've committed myself to. And you say you commit to us. We say we commit to you. Like I say, like you move away, like you belong. Like I'm not saying like this is you're forced into some weird thing here. But if what we're doing here is good, if what we're doing here is what God is up to, if you are coming and partaking in this, my encouragement to you is to join this, to officially say, I'm with you, and we officially will say, we are with you. That when the problems happen outside those walls, and they are multiple problems, that together we'll say, how do we address that? That we'll come together and say, how do we make this world a better world? How do we make this block a better block? How do we make our city a better city? How do we bring God's love to people who need it? And how can we reach out to them as they fight us and as they punch and as they, spew all their stuff? Man, I know that. I was that guy in that small group I didn't even know I was in. And you leave the door open. Let's together join together and look out there and see the potential that they don't see yet. To what love will do. To what serving will do. And let's link arms to do it because it's a difficult job and it takes all of us to do it together. Here's the line. I want you to say this week to me, to Brian, to whoever, I want to become a member. And we'll take it from there. Send an email, send a text, come talk to me afterwards, talk to Brian, talk to any of our leadership here, talk to Pastor Trina. And let's get you a part of this team. This is the line that this week is built for. It's a thing I've said in every one of the messages, and hear it today. You cannot belong from the edge. You can't belong just at the edge of this thing. You've got to step in. And trust me, when you do, you gain a family. You can't just be a spectator here. You can't just idle in the parking lot with the engine running for the rest of your life. Belong. Belonging only happens on the inside. There's no belonging at a safe distance. The distance is the exact opposite thing of what your heart desires. I believe that you come here wanting to be known, not to be entertained. So I encourage you today, take that armor off and step in. Because the body of believers here that could let you down is the same body that's been waiting to welcome you home. Let's stand. We're going to close with a song.